Hello, Josh. How are you?
What's up, Todd? How you doing, man?
Try to act like I really got. Hello, Josh. How are you? Hey, everybody. Welcome. This is the DNX Show, and we do this every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to cover today, Josh. I'm having a pretty good day. I was thinking if we had a theme song, it would probably be. Hold on, just for a second. Tired of listening to you talking. All you do. Hold on. Do is talk. Look, you gotta like the fucking Europeans. So this is UK. I mean, talk by talk. That's all we do is talk. Okay, so
That's it.
that'll probably get. It is a pretty cool song when you think about it. I'm just fucking. Okay, so one thing when you post the thing, DNX show, tag me when you first post it, just because I like to see. I like when people thumbs up and stuff. I like to see like, hey, I'm part of that.
I'm part of
So
that.
so so so
Sorry, dude.
yeah. So tag me when you do it, and then also get in here at 9:58. I mean, I'm sorry, 12:58, because I fucking try to stream it to YouTube. No, I mean all these people. It's not me. All these people, they're waiting and they're like, "Oh, is Josh okay?" It's 10:01. I mean, it's 1:01. All right, so I got a lot of stuff to cover today. I always begin, but Josh does most of the talking here. We're gonna have, but Josh, so much shit is going on. I love the domain business. The fucking news is unbelievable. But I mean, besides some of the sales that Agenic AI were on, but what do you think about Adam as a registrar now? Smart move. I mean, I think it's obviously smart. I like Darpin so much because and I don't do much business over there. But what do you think?
I love Darpan. He's super collaborative. One of the good guys in our industry, in my opinion. I mean, listen. If anyone was or is surprised that Atom is uh, an ICANN accredited registrar now, or has been trying to get an ICANN cred, um, you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be surprised at all. Um, So I knew it was coming without being told anything. Just because it's the logical next step for them. Um, they're doing some incredible things in the space. They're innovating. They're investing all their money back into growth. Darpin says it himself. They're intentionally not profitable because they're focused on growing the platform and providing more value. And I mean that's evident, right? It's evident when you use them. It's evident when you see what they're doing and how often they're iterating on their platform and adding new features and experimenting, and I think that's great, and I think that's what the industry needs. And in order to continue to innovate, eventually you get to a point where you need to become ICANN accredited. um, and Obviously that's what they're doing. It makes a ton of sense to me. I'm sure they'll provide lots of value, and I'm happy to see it.
I think the application process or whatever they had to do to get the registration. I mean, to get approved by ICANN to be a registrar, it's probably simple for Darpin. I'm interested in, I mean, running a registrar with all the other shit that he's doing. That I wonder how difficult, but how just the issues, because now he's got to face just regular registrar issues, and before he was like, Jesus, we were clear of that. So I don't think he had right by any problems, getting the approval to
I don't.
be an ICANN.
I don't think he'll have any issues, man. I think that a platform and a builder like him he's encountered and overcome so many more complex issues already than what becoming a registrar is going to he's going to face. So I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, I know. Shane made a comment that he sees Darpin real serious all the time, not smiling too much. But when I get with Darpin at these events, you know, that's the only time I've met him. But of course, I'm not gonna, I don't live in Chicago, and I don't go zipping around the Atom office. But so I've been with him like 3 different times at, some ICA events, maybe four. Well, we always have some laughs and really have a good time, and he really is, he cuts loose. I've seen him with his wife, and I've seen him loaded. No, I've seen him have some cocktails. But I mean, every time I get with him, I'm like, the first thing I do is, poke him. Hey, what are you doing? What's happening here? And who gives a shit about domains? So what else is going on? The Windy City. But no, I like him on that level, just personal, and every time, I mean, I like it because he's, so we're like friends. We see each other, we just smile. Like he's like, what are you gonna
He's
say to
not
me?
afraid. He's not afraid to tell. He's not afraid to tell people what he's doing, what he plans on doing. And I think there's good reason for that. I think that part of the reason why I think he cares. I think he's, it's part of his brand to be transparent. And it's part of the brand, part of the Atom brand now as well. But I think he knows that, like, if a lot of people aren't transparent because they think that they have like some sort of unique system or some sort of revelation that nobody else is going to be able to replicate. And the reality is that at the end of the day, none of the things that benefit us the most in the domain industry are like revolutionary in any way, shape, or form. It's just a case of, are you able to execute on these things? And most people aren't, and he is. So I don't think he has an issue like sharing these things because he knows that it's not that easy to execute on them, and he feels confident that in his team that they can. And I think that's great.
I know you switch your name servers to Atom when you want their landing pages, but do they offer hosting services too?
No, but I'm sure they will.
Yeah, I mean, um, well, so I reached out to a friend of mine I'm having lunch with tomorrow, Daniel Kolashuk, who works at Hilco, lives in Boston now. Used to be right here, Valley Kid. He's like Braden's stepson, if anybody knows Daniel. He's a pretty awesome guy, great salesman. I mean, I was going to say when I talk with him because he was in his early 20s, and I've known him now for I think 4 years, 3 or 4 years. Before he worked with Kate, before he basically was just um, and Braden introduced him to the business. But long story short, the guy was a great salesman. I mean, listen, and I'm not saying it to be extra nice to anybody. I remember, being a young salesman myself, and I love it. And that's, I think, still, that's really what I am, a salesperson. So just knowing the skills that he had, I always thought, man, wait till you're gonna just do fantastic. And the domain space is tough. It's like selling cars, outbounding cars. Cars were almost usually sold people coming to the lot, but you do build a big book up and you try to sell them. I said domains. We've been in this space forever. We wait around for people to come to us. That's how we get the big price. You go out and you do outbound, and now it's a thing. But and it always really needed to be, but it just is not how you get the best price for the names. But people are turning that on its head. But anyway, so I always just thought this guy's a great salesman. Always. He's like, could give a seminar in sales, and he's young. He's 20 years old, and he's 22, 25. Anyway, he he's out here hanging out now for a week, I guess. He's, Boston. I tell him, Boston, what the fuck are you living in Boston? But that's where he lives now. So I told him, I said, hey, why don't you drop in today if you can, to the DNX show and let us know what's happening. He still handles the premium, the super premium, super duper premium platform at Atom, right? So do you have any names there on the super premium
On
area
the
of
super
Atom?
duper premium,
Yeah.
no, I don't. I know a lot of people that do. And I think that well, I know that they're doing really, really well with it. So, um, would I put a super duper premium name up with them? Yeah, I would. But I don't currently have any. I think that yeah, I think that part of the business, that Hilco part of the business, is performing incredibly well. They have some amazing names, and Andrew Miller and Daniel and team have have been doing an incredible job. So
Yeah, we're going to talk about. I know everybody's going to be at NamesCon. We're going to talk about that until the event. I mean, fuck, where you're going, I'm going. Um, do you know? I know you're going to probably do some, speaking. Do you have it? Do you know what you're going to be doing there yet? I mean, what panel or
I don't
anything?
know. I might do a DNX happy hour actually. Now that you mention it, thinking about it, uh, might bring a couple of my guys at DNX with me as well. Um, and I think I will be on some panels. I'm not sure exactly which ones. There might be something Domain Sherpa related. I'm not sure about that as well. I know Andrew Alleman said that he might want me on one of his. I'm not sure about that. So the answer is I don't know, but I'm sure that I will be on
Yeah,
a
I mean, I look forward to it.
numerous
Well, yeah, so I'm on the DNX marketing team by being part of this show. So yeah, so I look forward to meeting the rest of our team and saying, yeah,
You're coming
you
for
guys,
happy hour too?
yeah, well, yeah, of course I'm going to be there. I'm going to be by that time, Josh. You guys have. We're going to talk right now about some of those new things that you guys built, but I love it. You build stuff, and then what I want to do, like I do for other friends too. But yeah, I consider what by that. But anyway, in another 6 months, DNX, who knows all the stuff that's going to be built. It's time to send
Weeks, bro.
traffic that
Weeks.
way. It's time to market DNX. It really is time now. I understand that, but listen, I guess what I'm saying is all I can do is talk. We're talking here weekly, do it on my other stuff. But yeah, so I can't wait to meet our engineering team and all that. So I can say, yeah, and in the ownership, I know you got some
Oh
partners with
yeah.
the ownership, and I can tell them, now we're going to go sell it. Let's see who sells the most, you know?
True.
Let's,
I don't even know why you're not on our team calls. I feel bad.
yeah. Um, yeah, we'll be patient, but I know we'll be part of serious because the marketing we know is important, and I love that anyway. Because all the builders they know, hey, they don't want to build for nothing anyway. Need some traffic and need some business. But well, you were posting something, some of the updates to DNX, and I'm going there a lot now. I haven't bought anything yet because I'm thinking, so this money goes directly to him. Anyway,
Oh, dude, yeah. They're all my domains.
yeah. Well,
35 million of them.
well,
And
what
every time one is bought, it's all going to me.
Well, what were the recent features that you? I mean, basically, what were you sort of
Um,
shouting about recently about DNX?
we added a price tracking feature that is live right now. So I did like a screen share of our our like test system, so that like there are some features in there that aren't live, but one feature that is live is our price tracking. So every day you'll see updates on on the prices and whether they've moved up and down. And I mean, like the other day there was, I think, like over like 300,000 price updates. So like people are changing the prices of their names all the time, way more than I thought. And now we're tracking all of that, so you can see like what the price was listed at, if it's moved up or down, and how many times, and all that kind of thing. So that's on there now, which is cool. We've had some feedback on that, and people have said, that's really useful. Seeing what it's been listed for before and what it's listed for now, and if it's at the lowest point that it's been listed, it's obviously more likely to sell. And then um, provide a little sneak peek of our DNX intelligence report that you'll be able to look at on each name. I've talked a little bit about that, but essentially, one thing that we're not interested in doing is putting a value, like a dollar value on domains. And I think that's one area. I'm sure people will follow suit, but that's one area that we're different in at the moment when it comes to like valuations. It's just there's too many variables between the buyer and the seller, and in to put a dollar value on even a value range is difficult. But what you can do is you can look at other data points, and you can provide, and you can give a score or some sort of ranking system, and that's what we're more interested in doing. Looking at the metrics behind a name, looking at comparable sales, and we're we're still working on it, so it's not live yet. But if you look at one of my posts, you can see an example of what it will look like. And it's just providing you more insights and more data, and um, something something to look at when you're making a buying decision. Um, so that's in the works. We have a lot more in the works as well, that is going to be released fairly soon. I'm testing it myself this week. And it kind of extends beyond just a marketplace. I will say this, and I don't want to go on too much, because not everyone in this room is interested in what I have to say about it. And if you are, go ahead and put a thumbs up, and I'll keep talking. But if you're not, you know, I understand. Um, the the Basically, what our goal is to be a sales enablement platform. So what we really want to do is like build tools and features around generating sales. And it doesn't matter where those sales go, whether they go to Atom, whether they go to Cedo, whether they go to GoDaddy, et cetera, et cetera. So if you can think about stuff outside of just a marketplace that helps generate sales and helps domain investors make decisions, or helps domain buyers make decisions, or helps domain sellers make decisions. We're trying to build those kind of things. So I don't want to give away too much, but stuff like domain monitoring is one feature that will be released pretty soon. So like names that are not listed anywhere at the moment. You might have a domain that you've always wanted to buy. It's never been listed for sale, and you want to monitor it so that if it does hit the marketplace, or there are updates to the domain, you get notified about them, and that way you can be the first one to get an opportunity to buy it, or you can be the first one to similar to what you might get at like domain tools, for example, um, but more marketplace centric. So we'll have a monitoring tool that gets released pretty soon as well. And Yeah, we're definitely working on some other things, like landing pages and whatnot, that are maybe not the same as what you might be used to today. Um, just like experimenting in ways that you know other companies haven't before, just to see if we can uncover areas of the market that can be improved on.
Josh,
So
if I created what you created, I'd be fucking jumping through the roof. Meaning, and I know you're super excited about it, but the more I, know about DNX and what you're doing, one, it really is the the perfect aftermarket place, and we won't go on about it today because we're going to talk about it every week, and they're really going to, but people will start using it. Wait until, I mean, I think it's just fantastic to know. Okay, this is what It's if you're listed on Afternic, it's there at DNX. On Cedo, it's there. Like you said, Atom, and then the way it shows you the other extensions, price comparisons. I guess what I'm getting at is it's a perfect aftermarket tool for domain investors and end users. So really, anybody who's looking for a domain that's already registered, perfect place to look. If it's not listed, like you just said, well, monitor it. Maybe it'll get listed sometime. But if you're looking for drops, then you go to another place. And I know there may be some things you'll do there in the future. But the point is, it really
yeah,
is.
I mean, like
Yeah.
that's I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. But like the I guess I'm not like jumping through the roof and trying to over market it right now, purely because we just have a lot of things in the works that we haven't spoken about, and I just don't want to put like the cart before the horse. I think that's the right expression. Um, and once we get more of these things rolled out, it will start to become a little bit more apparent how everything connects, and how more people. And I think that I don't want to have to tell anyone like go use this. I just want to build stuff that people are like, wow, I should use this. And at the end of the day, these things like speak for themselves. And domainers are pretty smart people. Uh, and if they see something that's valuable to them, they'll use it. And if they don't, they won't. Um, and Yeah, That's
Yeah, I mean,
that's
I
that's what
was
I'll
on
say.
mute saying, yeah, yeah. I mean, you're right, and it's like they'll. That's why I'm like excited because I know they're going to find it. Everybody's eventually going to find it for their own use and realize, all right, it definitely does that and then some. But I'm liking it more and more. But right now, I know it's sort of the building stage, letting people know about it stage, and then also letting them find it. But it is. I'm just fucking impressed, and I really mean that. And it's like even if you stopped it right now, and this is like almost V2, V3 of your MVP. You only just made a few versions of it so far. It's impressive now, and what your plans are is I mean, really fantastic. But I mean, yeah, I can't wait for. I like using it, and I like the monitoring of the. Um, I like looking at my own stuff on there, and I like changes in the prices now, knowing when this site has traffic, a lot of traffic from our industry and from the outside when they know about it. Well, it's going to be the perfect place for you're going to want to send people there to look for your names. But I'm just saying the changing of the prices is important because that it really does get some people off the
Yeah,
shitter
I
to
I
make some
I,
decisions.
I I appreciate it, and listen, I don't want to go on too much about it, but I'll provide some updates on my Twitter, on my X, over the next few days with a few more sneak peeks of what's to come. Domain management is a big thing that we're working on as well. So, um, yeah. No, it's all good. I certainly
Cool. Well, you're gonna have some
appreciate
DNX hats
appreciate
and
it.
stuff down at NamesCon, right? You give away. By the way, I want a snag shirt, and I know. Wait to have Rob. He's a buddy of yours. It sounds like we gotta. He said he'd be happy to come on here, but I love his just stories of being a fucking entrepreneur. I mean, he's an awesome guy.
I talk to Rob almost daily at the moment. Become pretty friendly with him over the last few months. He's a really cool guy, and he's kind of just like this. He's another guy, kind of like Darpan, that has come from outside of the domain industry and has a lot of good ideas and has a network outside of the standard like domainer, or outside of like what some of the builders that exist today. And uh yeah, good guy, is going to bring value to the space. So if you don't know Rob, or you don't follow him, yeah, he's the founder of Snagged, and really good guy.
I like it. He's when the call that I was on that he was on, he I like it because he comes barging right in, doing big transactions with buying side, selling side. It's like he doesn't know any better. He's like at the main poker table, like, look, I'm at the final table already. Ha, this is fun. I mean, doing big, but also so friendly and so the experience that he has with startups is like we all want to know. All right, talk about that. How you raise money for that. Talk about the challenges that you had there and why you shifted from there to there and how you grew, you know, row.co, changed it a little
Yeah,
bit. But yeah, cool guy. Hey, listen, everybody
yeah,
here, thanks for being here, first of all. And I told a few guys, I think Ish, Siger, I don't know if they're still here. See Mike, yeah, I see. I told Ish, I said I come up on his spaces. He's going to come up here today and talk a little bit too, especially when we're talking about some of these sales. Mike, well, he says to you, he says to me, sure, yeah, I'll be there. Oh, yeah, come on, share some things, sure. And then you try to fucking, get the guy up here, and he's like, huh? No, he just turned his back on you. But so I'm going to be inviting a bunch of people up here. I'd like to hear from Adam too, but definitely a couple guys that a lot of you don't know. AI.now, I think, I forget his name. I talked to him a couple
yeah.
times.
Aaron, let's
Aaron,
bring
yeah,
Aaron
Aaron
up
about
here,
because we're
and
going to
he
talk
can
about
tell us about.
Agenic.ai, and then
Yeah, let's do
a
it.
newer guy too, Darcy, was doing some investment tracking himself, and we're going to. So I want to invite a bunch of people up here. But Josh, to get going, what did you think about this agenicai.com? Is that right? Yeah, that's what it was. So I don't even know what agenic.ai went for. Was that a sale in the last 6 months too? But what do you think about
I don't think so.
agenicai.com for 120?
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, it's not cheap, right? that's not a cheap price. Do I think that it's below retail? Yeah, I think it's below retail. Uh, I think that he could definitely make money on it in the future, but there's no doubt about it, right? Like if Namecheap, if Richard and Co are selling the domain, they they feel like they're getting a decent price for it. But it's a fantastic name, and I posted about the Porsche versus the domain type thing because I wanted to see what people would pick, and a lot of people pick the domain. I challenged them on it, and they're like, "Oh, you obviously have an agenda here or whatever." And it's like, no, actually, I'm not even sure what I would pick. I might pick the domain. Like what people don't know is that I'm pretty bullish on agentic names too. I own agentics.com, so which now you know. I didn't pay that much, but agenticai.com is a great name, and Aaron is a cool dude, and I love seeing people come into the space willing to spend money on domains. I think that's great.
Hey, Aaron, what's up?
Hey, good morning, guys. Thanks for letting me speak. Yeah, I think it's a good name too. Not think, but I know it's a good name. You know, the way I feel about it is, given the price level and what the previous owner was requesting for it, I feel like it would have gone pretty quickly, in my opinion, at that price level. And I had like a 2 hour conversation with Grok about this domain name. I fed it a bunch of data about the search traffic and all this other related data about agentic AI, and did some research on just general concepts of agentic AI, where it's heading, where it's going, what is the future for agentic AI. And I felt like it was right to pull the trigger at that price level. It's more of a, I don't necessarily know what my plans are with it at the moment, but but what I do know is I am bullish on agentic AI. That's just my personal opinion. There's if you go to Google and search agentic AI, there's dozens of articles written about agentic AI. There's a blog post from NVIDIA about agentic AI. Um, so yeah, overall, I felt like it was the right decision to make at that level.
That's cool,
Yeah,
man.
no,
Listen, like at the end of the day, one thing that I will say, I can make arguments on both sides here, by the way. So when I talk about things and when I post about things, I want it to be very clear that what I'm doing is I'm engaging a conversation, and I'm not necessarily taking one stance over the other. I like to play devil's advocate on these kind of things because there's always a discussion to be had. There's always opinions on both sides. Um, what I will say is that people that end up getting these domains and then selling them for big money, they typically place a bet at some point that nobody else is willing to place. So good on you. I think that, like I said, I believe that that is an incredible domain name. Um, I think that um, I think that you probably will do pretty well with it. So I wish you the best of luck.
yeah, Aaron. So, hold on, you just come blowing in the domain space. I mean, So first of all, is 120K the most expensive name you purchased so far?
It is, yes.
Yeah. Well, I like it. When you decided, I'm thinking, I'm going to move some money around here. Let me do this a little so I can get this name. Because 120 is not cheap for a domain, especially now we consider you, when I say one of us, you've already bypassed. It's like we're all runners in a race and we're like, who's the guy that can do 6 minute miles for the marathon? I mean, fuck, he doesn't even come to the running group that much. He just
Todd, you're
started.
gonna you're gonna ask him. You're gonna ask him how he got so much money.
Yeah, no, I know that he already told me his family's got some dough. He works hard, but he's got some money where he's like, listen, I hope I don't blow through this trust. Anyway, yeah,
No,
But like,
that name.
I will say this. I will say this, right? And the reason why I ask it is because actually Aaron is super transparent about all these kind of things. But there are a lot of people that come into the space and they're like, "Well, where'd you get your money from?" And it's like, how'd you afford to buy those names? And you know, it's like there is some, you don't obviously ever need to reveal your personal details, but it is helpful to be able to say, or considerate in some ways, to be able to say like, this is where I came from.
Right.
Maybe I worked really hard,
Josh is
or
just
I,
wanting to know a little bit,
was.
but here I'm his investment advisor for right now. And Aaron, I'm sure you got one, but we'll talk. But anyway, I would tell him, well, none of your business. But anyway, don't look too, don't look down the
But
barrel of
he's
this
young.
gun.
But
You'll get.
he's young, right? He's a young guy that has obviously got some money, and
But he made a
um,
comment that he removed from a timeline that I saw when I was talking about being from Indy. So are you not proud that you're a Hoosier because you're originally from Indiana, right?
Yes, sir. I grew up detasseling corn for
That's my
like
guy.
7.25 an hour was the minimum wage back then. Detasseling corn in the Midwest is a popular summer job for like teenagers and high schoolers.
mhm.
Kind of one of the first and only jobs you can get at that age level. And then I did that for a number of years, and the standard raise was a quarter every year because it was typically like the same employer or company you were contracted through, and so I remember, I'm getting 750 next year. Oh, the next year is 775. But no, I am proud to be from Indiana. I have many friends back there. I went to university there. Um,
You went to
I
IU?
have I Go ahead.
Did you go to
What's your
IU?
full time job again? What's your full time job at? I remember you said it in another space.
I work in IT engineering.
Right.
Okay, so you're up in Toronto now, right?
Me? No,
Uh,
I'm in Montana.
oh, Montana. Oh, geez, sorry. Hey,
Hey, the
so
Yeah.
weather is good here. The weather, I'm really loving the weather right now. No humidity, and it's like
yeah,
60s,
it's better. It
70s.
is
It's
better
just
than Florida. Oh no, here comes Josh. Oh shit. But anyway, so
It's
I did the
90 in
same thing. So I
Florida.
I detasseled corn too. Of course, I quit real fast because I wasn't. It was too tough for me. But no, being from
You know
Indiana.
what?
Okay, so fantastic. I wanted to say you went to IU. Did you say?
no. I went to Ball State University out of
Oh,
Muncie.
yeah, I know Ball State.
I
Yeah.
had some friends from high school go to IU, and it was on my radar. Just for family and other reasons, I chose the other university.
Yeah, you sound like you keep more brain cells going to Ball State, although they party pretty hard there. But yeah, when Playboy used to do this, the best party universities, and we weren't in the top 10 because they said we don't rate professionals. Yeah, because at IU, but just a bunch of partying. That's all we did. But
Sure.
fantastic. So you're fantastic. I mean, now that you come, because we say that only because you spend a bunch of money in this business. Now you bought that AI dot now. You've told people that's 15 grand and 15 grand a year, 16 doesn't matter. So you're really sinking into the AI. Are you tell us about some other? Do you have some .ai names? Because we're going to talk about that about that extension. But you're all in the AI. But I haven't heard you say anything about that extension.
Yeah, I have a handful of AI names. Like I have Sunday, like an ice cream sundae, with an E dot AI. I also have multi-token dot AI. Multi-token is a relatively newer AI research term that came out from Meta or Llama in April. Actually, it's been around before then, but I think it's kind of a lesser known research term in the AI space. And so my hand registered multi-token dot AI. Just kind of a little speculative thing, just to see if multi-token comes out. Because the way I look at it is you know all these AI research papers come out, and then eventually they are implemented, or some of them are implemented down the road. So it's more like a speculation thing.
Do you know
But
what?
yeah,
Do you know what I noticed, Todd, and Aaron, and everyone else that's listening, is that when smart people come in new into the industry, one thing that I often notice, and I did this as well, although I wasn't smart, is like initially you are very attracted to keyword names, like keyword relevant names, as opposed to brands. And I feel like as you mature and go through, like, mature into the industry, it becomes more apparent that, like, open vessel brands have a lot more like selling power, and just sell a lot more often than like these keywords. When the keywords, like, for example like agenticai.com, when they sell, they often sell for a lot of money. but they don't sell as often as like some brand, like I don't know, like pineapple.ai or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Do you find that you're attracted to keywords as opposed to brands more, Aaron?
That's a good question. I think personally I am, because I was talking to Grok a few weeks ago about how many phonetic, pronounceable combination letters or words are there of 5-letter.com domains. And don't quote me on this, but it was somewhere in the range of like 50 million different combinations, or at least 50 million. It threw out a 50 million estimate. And so the way I look at it is, this is just for me, I'm not speaking on anybody's behalf, but my personal strategy is, if I'm going to make a bet, I would rather make a bet on a keyword domain rather than a lottery ticket on a 5-letter brandable. That's just my personal preference, and just how I perceive the world. I have nothing against brandable names. They obviously exist for a reason. People love them. People like them. People build big brands on them. You look at a lot of big companies and they're brandable or made up words or two words combined. So obviously they exist for a reason. It's just,
What if
in my
that
conversation.
brandable was like ethos.com? You talk about a 5-word brandable. What if that brandable is like ethos.com? ETHOS.
Well,
Do you
that's a
take
dictionary word. So I would say that's a little different in my opinion.
Okay, so you're talking about like made up brandables.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you on that. But what about dictionary word brandables that can be used for anything?
Well, I mean, I did some research and I picked up hardly.com for that. I feel like hardly.com, it's HARDLY, 6 letters. I feel like, before I made the purchase of hardly.com, I was talking to Grok and I'm like, I fed Grok a list of 100 dictionary word domains. And I just asked Grok, out of these 100 dictionary.coms available for sale, which is the most flexible or versatile? And it said hardly.com was in the top 5.
Oh,
And I
that's
was
cool.
on like deep search or deep think mode. So that I kind of made that judgment from that. So I have a couple brandable, like I have trickster.com. That's probably not as flexible as hardly.com, but I feel like hardly.com could be used for a variety of things, and I think it passes the radio test. So
Hardly.
yeah, that's just what I have to
Hey,
say.
okay, well, I want to talk about that. But Josh, you're right. So I did the, same thing coming into the space. You get all these keywords, but then again, 20 years ago, they really meant something, meaning you searched, I bring up cannabis delivery. You search something like that, and if somebody searched those terms, you're the number one that comes up. Now, is a delivery service in that space going to use these keywords? Well, they do buy it. They probably would redirect it. Would they name their company that? Yes, some folks. So, in what Josh is talking about, Aaron, about like a 5-letter, certainly the ones that are made up, like a made up word, are tough, especially once you get past 4 letters. Now, if it's 4 letters and it's made up, like when we talked about raw with ro.co, but if you got a 4-letter.com that's Timu, right? This was a made up word. When it's a 4-letter that's a CVCV, I think we're finding that companies are looking for names that they can really sink their teeth into with regards to, if they got the biggest money, they're thinking, can I trademark this name? Can I, how easy and fun is it for people to say and remember? But because the keywords, think about it, we still see big sales and people think property.com or properties.com is great, and it does mean what it means. And we saw home.com sell for whatever, the biggest dough. But over time, you'll see, after speaking with Sten too, you'll see the market really is, the some of the smart money looking for more brandable names. And then Josh was talking about the open vessels of, so a name that's just flat out can mean all sorts of different, it's a dictionary word, but really open vessel. Purple.com. If you own a color, of course, who would have thought that's a mattress company? But totally different than, purple can be any industry, let's say, when agenic AI, but okay, so you got some great.
Someone bought a CVCV on DNX a couple weeks ago. Not a word, made up. brandable for 65K. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, about this Hardly, which I think it's cool. I like that. You know, I like hard. Okay. Anyway, but so a name like that, right? It's registered. Where did what you thought you wanted it, so you went and checked out the landing page, and tell us a little bit about where was it parked at, and then what did you do, making an offer, or you just buy it now?
Yeah, so it was a custom lander page. It was available through Afternic, Cedo, and direct and then escrow.com. There was like four different buying options. I chose to go through Afternic or GoDaddy, just for their transaction assurance team. There was a little bit more of a premium only because of the commission rate, versus the other people in the space. Um, but I think the reason I got it though is because I kind of wanted a dictionaryword.com. Plus I like the sound of it, hardly.com. Like I just kind of like the sound of it, and Grok said it was good, and one of the more flexible options available. But yeah, I did go through Afternic for that one.
it's like a Harley Davidson.
Yeah. Hey, okay. Before we go, listen. I asked like 15 people to come up on stage. So I want all those people to know that you got a request. Yeah, you weren't that special. I asked a bunch of people, and no one comes up here. Brad does, and we're going to go to Brad in just a second. But so I want to tell those people. Yeah, listen. I know I haven't marked down everybody I invited up, so I'm still expecting you to come up here. But what'd you pay for Hardly? Did you say anything about that? What? How much was it? Do you want to tell us?
Um, it was it was four figures.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, good. That's a
I'm s- I just I just
what?
oof, I just had a big sale. I think we'll see. Let me just check.
Okay, so we'll let you go. But Brad, thanks for joining us. What's happening with you? Thanks for coming up here.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to commend Aaron on that name and say that that's not any, AI name. That's a neologism. That's going to be the terminology in this arena. You know what I mean? It's part of the vernacular of the internet. And AI and agents, and then agentic AI is going to be in any book talking about the evolution of how this LLM technology has taken over the technological industry. So I mean, I don't think and that you got a great deal, and it's an extraordinary word, and it's now yours. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you for your words. Um, mm, you know, like I said earlier, I think the game would have gone pretty quickly at level. Uh, and it's not I necessarily I went in research. I did many hours of research on this. Um, so yeah, no, I appreciate your kind words. Thank you.
And also, I think you're sharing something for us, for myself, older people in this business, how you are interacting with the AI tech. You're talking about you had this conversation with Grok, and you did all this insight and questioning, and you really had a dialogue with the machine learning entity that you're seeking to learn about. And I think that that's very impressive, and it's a new thing for younger people um, that we all need to kind of pick up on, or at least I need to, because you're revealing some very keen insights into elevating your discerning decision making. And when you're spending the kind of money that you're spending, it makes sense. And I appreciate you sharing that with us, because you're talking about it like I was just talking to a friend of mine, and we were having lunch, but in fact you were having a dialogue with the machine that is going to be our partner in one way or another for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, there's that old saying that there's a lot of AI appraisal tools out there, and they either hallucinate data, or they hallucinate sales, or they hallucinate numbers. I think just being honest here, my approach was feeding Grok like real actual data, not like comparable sales, but like, okay, the keyword agentic AI is growing at this percentage per year, or is projected to grow at this percentage per year. It currently averages X number of searches per month on Google alone worldwide for the last month. Just contextual stuff like that. And again, I feel like this is obviously a keyword domain, but I feel like this is separate, because agentic AI is kind of like an industry definition. Well, not kind of, but it is an industry definition. But yeah, I think I'm not necessarily advising everyone else to talk to AI about their purchases or sales, but I think for me, at least for a key decision like this, I really needed to have a conversation with AI about an AI name. And yeah, no.
Well,
Anyways, thanks for your words. That's just kind of what I have to say.
makes sense. But no, thanks for all that. Well, Eddie, thanks for joining us on stage. What comment or question did you have?
Hey, Todd, Josh, and everybody here. First of all, I want to thank you guys for having these shows, man. They're very insightful. I really enjoy listening to you guys all the time. So I don't really like coming up on stage too much, but I thought this was, maybe worth it, because I wanted to say hello to everybody, and also to, give a little word out to Aaron as well, man, and congratulate him on the purchase of Agentic AI. I was the original registrant of that domain. I hand registered that domain in July of 2023, and I put it up for sale. I put it up for sale for $5K. Typically, I don't price domains immediately, but it was just one of those things. I'm like, okay, I'll get back to it. And I sold the domain. I sold the domain at $5K on a payment plan. Like, I forgot exactly how long it was after, but maybe a month or 2 or 3. I don't know exactly. So I 500x'd it, but the next buyer obviously 30x'd it, and he did better than me at the 30x than me at 500x. But I still think it was a great buy for you, Aaron, and I just wanted to congratulate you on that, man, because I think it's still, it's the category defining word. It's the term that everybody's talking about. It's all over every YouTube video, posting, everything. It's just agentic AI. It's just a big deal. I don't know what the shelf life is going to be on that, obviously, but just thought it was pretty interesting. When I saw the transaction, I was very happy for the buyer. Don't get me wrong. I wish I would have been the seller at 120 grand. I would have rather sold it at that price. But it's just like everything. That's just how it is. Sometimes you're on this side, and sometimes you're on the other side. And so it's happened to me. I've had domains that I've bought for 25K and sold them for 350K, and I'm pretty sure the seller didn't feel so great about it. So so congratulations, Aaron. And one final thing before I exit the stage, I have a few prospects for your domain. If you want to sell it, and it's if you want to just flip it, we might be able to get a deal done right now. I've got people have been sending me messages that could be a good thing. So right now I'm telling you on stage and publicly, there's an opportunity to sell it. I sent you a message through Twitter. I don't know if you saw it. And if you want to do something, you got my number. Call me, and maybe we can get something done. So that's it.
I will get back to you. Thanks for letting me know. Take care, Eddie.
Fuck, Eddie.
Absolutely, Aaron.
Thanks for
Eddie. What a legend! What a story!
Yeah.
Thanks for coming out, man.
Small world here, Josh. If I want to make a comment, then you can. But this is beautiful. And Eddie, thanks for coming up and sharing that. And Eddie can always tell people, I got a $500. The next guy got a 24. You should tell him, I'm gonna teach you how to get a better return. But anyway, wait till Aaron gets like a 5 times return, and then or a 10 times, and you can say, okay, you did what you had to do. Okay, very interesting. Eddie, thanks so much for sharing that, because people in the, here in the domain space, we wonder, when you said you registered it, I was thinking, geez, when was it? And you just tell us in 2023, and a lot of people would have done the same thing, meaning when you didn't know how popular the term was going to be, to get that type of return is nice, and you're very experienced in the space, so sometimes they come, sometimes they go, sometimes you get the big 5 or 6 figures sales, and these definitely a mid 4 figure is nice to take. But thanks for sharing that, and thanks for, obviously on point. Thanks for being here, Josh.
Yeah, I
No,
appreciate the opportunity to come up and share my story. I'm sure that there are people that are scratching their head and saying, "Wait, this guy only sold it for $5,000?" Well, yeah, but that's just part of the business, right? I used to own a TV station in Miami, and when I sold it for the dollar amounts that I sold it for, and that was the right move at that time. I don't look back and say, "Oh, I wish I would have gotten." You know, 500 million. I just I sold it for what I sold it for, and that's it. And you just don't look back and move on. But there's plenty of opportunity. There's plenty of lessons to be learned. One of them might be you can still make money on hand registrations. I strongly recommend people don't focus on hand registrations. I got to be honest, but there's still opportunities. You can see it's hard to find those industry terms, and I think this one was a lucky one for me. But nonetheless, there's still opportunities out there for hand registrations.
Eddie,
And yeah,
Eddie, thank you for sharing that. And, they didn't have the AI agents back then to ask questions about which purchases to do. Just like kind of a short version of what was the mindset of how you chose that name then? Did you read an article? Did you know what I mean? If you'd be so kind, it's just a brief thought process.
I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you some of the things that I normally do. I do a lot of research. I do a lot of reading. I read white papers, things that are, by the time it gets to trending, it's too late. So if anybody wants to follow this, you can. Fine. I read stuff that's projected to come, and it was early stages. It wasn't like the term never existed. It's just I thought when I read about it, I said this is the direction that it's probably going to go in. And honestly, I promised myself to go back. I just put it at 5K because I'm like, okay, I'll be satisfied with the sale of this. But then, a certain amount of time later, and I don't remember exactly, I remember that I priced it at $5,000, and I said, I got to go back and review that. And then a few days passed, and boom, I got a congratulations email. And so, I hoped that the buyer would default because it was, whatever. I said, yeah, it's too late. But am I satisfied with it? Yeah. And I said, the next guy's going to probably make a lot of money. And I really didn't look it up too much, honestly. But the research for me in the early stages was I probably read a white paper. I may have read an article that got published or something. I read like obscure stuff sometimes. And this is the only way to kind of stay ahead of the curve, because if you're waiting for the trend, it's too late. It's not too late. It's just often too late. I shouldn't say it like an absolute statement. That's not an absolute statement. But yeah, that's pretty much it, Bradley. There was just and again, I think I register 4 or 5 hand registrations in an entire year, because it's like throwing crap on a wall. Some's going to stick, but most of it doesn't. So you got to be careful with hand registrations. But that's basically the story behind it.
Well, thank you. And there's a lot to learn in what you just shared, and the research, trying to stay ahead of the trend, and just your own kind of intuitive awareness to pick that, name. That's just a lot of intuition that you have to have as well.
Smart.
And you have it, obviously.
Smart. Josh, did you make the big sale, or what happened there?
I'm exploring right now. Actually, it's a name. It's a name that is priced highly, and then I just got the dreaded. It's been removed from your account, but I don't see anything in Afternig, and so I'm exploring.
Jeez.
It's not a sale, but it could be a missing domain.
It sounds like removed from your account. All right. Well, we got the one and only Ishmaeli, and then of course the The one and only Paige Howe. At first we go to Ish. Ish, thanks for coming up here. It's like pulling teeth. Thanks. What's up?
Thanks for having me. During the week I work, so but I never miss this room because it's you guys drop so much jams, and it's the domain family. But first of all, congrats to AI Dub. Now, Aaron has been on a picking up jams, and I think the word that comes to my mind when I listen to said, and what Aaron is doing is just foresight. Maybe research part of foresight, right? These guys are thinking ahead of the curve, and in his situation, it was a bet that paid off. Did he maximize? No, but he had foresight. In research, had foresight, and it means allow us to sort of like gamble intelligently. And I just think it's such an amazing story, and I know that Aaron is going to do very well because when he was describing his process, it just makes sense to me that AI, which lacks emotion, will probably be the best person to discuss domains with, right? Yes, hallucination, but humans do hallucinate too, right? I think AI picked that up from us, right? So you can tell when the thing is hallucinating. But I think just going to AI and
Yeah, we lost him. Did you lose him too, Josh?
Yeah, I lost you, Ish. You're a bit robotic as
It
well
was,
for
it
me.
was
I don't know
coming
about
back and
anyone else.
forth, but we could hear you pretty good. But we know you're sitting on a balcony somewhere. Maybe he's in downtown LA. I don't know. Well, try to reconnect. Paige, what's happening?
Oh, I'm off mute. Okay, there we go. Hey, Todd, Josh, Aaron, congratulations. Great position to be in with agentic AI. I think when I think about the next steps, I wanted to ask you because I'm working on a couple names that are kind of category killers or whatever, that are 2-word industry defining names. And I'm trying to paint a picture. And these are the options I came with: 1, 2, 3. You can tell me which one you think you might either do or where your best buyer may come from. 1, apply your name to the highest gross margin product in the business that it represents. You know what I mean? So that would be like NVIDIA. You know what I mean? They sell the chips that power agentic AI. You know what I mean? So that's kind of one. Maybe the answer is going to be both. The second is to be what we used to call a portal. You can control the conversation about agentic AI or whatever generic domain you have, through an essence, and just say, this is where you go to find out about agentic AI. And then I feel like the third one is to just try to put as many revenue opportunities as you can on it. You know what I mean? If you're looking for consulting, contact us, and then you make 30% if you refer someone to business. If you're looking for hardware. So when you think about what to do next and maybe to broaden it to any generic name, do you have a thought of how?
Well, Paige, I think he jumped off stage. You were breaking up at the end, but basically you asking him a thought of how he, put this thing to use. But I don't see
Well,
Aaron
I'll
on
go with
stage.
number 2 then. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was thinking, here's what I want my agentic AI to do. If I'm Eddie, I want the next level of AI is AI says to
What?
me,
I'm doing
hey,
something.
Paige, one of the names in your portfolio's average search volume has increased 30% in the last week. Want to reprice it? You know what I mean? It's like,
You like that? You want that page? Would that be
I
useful to
do
you?
because I know what I don't. I know what I know, but I want to know what I don't know. Does that make
Mm,
sense? That's where I
yeah.
want AI to help me. Is show me something I didn't know. It's not really intuition, but it's more cover bases.
I don't. You're breaking up a little bit, but um, I don't think you're going to have to wait very long for that kind of solution to be readily available.
Come on, really?
No.
I love it. I love it. I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah, okay. So everything's going good. I see Darcy making faces, laughing. I don't know what he thinks is so damn funny. Just kidding, Darcy. Hey, I wanted to bring that up because Darcy posted something. Because last week I was saying it's important. I mean, for me, it was always important to go, okay, how much have I spent total on domain names? And that is basically all the buy-in, all the renewals. I don't count things like any marketing I would do on a name I built out. I'm talking about pure domain investing, domain investment tracking. And I'm glad Paige is here. Maybe he can chime in too. But first, I want to ask Josh and then maybe Darcy if he wants to come up and talk about what he posted, because he posted some great numbers, like the key numbers that I think you should track. How much have you spent total? How much have you, how much have you, what has went out, what has come in? So for me, and I'll look at my numbers again, but I know they're pretty close. 1.3, I've spent 1.3 million, but I've done it over so long of a time. It's not like I'm a big spender. Okay. Like I've said before, I don't do the names I've spent. I spend mostly $200 on a name.
Does that include what you sold as well?
No, I've said I've spent about 1.3 million and I've got back 2.4 million.
No, but yeah, but like you, that's
What do you mean?
when you say you've spent 1.2 million, like some of those, like that's not what your inventory, that's not what your current inventory cost is, right? That's like what you've spent, and some of that will have sold,
Sure. Yeah. That's
right?
my
Yeah,
total. That's my total spend. Meaning, I haven't really
gotcha.
bought a lot of stuff in the last several years. That's not. Sometimes I'll register. I'm more of a hand registration person, and I don't know why they say hand
But
registration.
hey,
It doesn't
Todd,
make sense. It's just
hey,
registration.
Todd, let me
Yeah.
ask you a question. What do you think your total capital that you moved from your personal accounts into domains is? Because your 1.3 includes the fact that you reinvested money that you made. But what do you, the reason I've always liked domaining is I wanted to move money from my personal account into my domain business and then grow that domain business, So do you know, like, I mean, it'd be great to say you started off with $100 and since then you've never put any new money in. But that's always a number I wanted to stay clear on for me is what is my, like, beginning capital that I moved into my enterprise.
Well, great question. Early on, I certainly commingled a lot more, and I'm looking at some things now from. I see, yeah, 2002. Okay, total sales in 2002, $300. Total sales in 2003, 730. Now I know I'm talking about sales, not my expenses, but I have kept track of. Okay, so all my expenses early on was money from other, from wherever. It wasn't from domains because you see, in 2002, I first registered a name in 1998, ABC Productions. I think my second one was Todd Ryan, and then I didn't really start registering names for investment until that 2003, 2002, 2003, as soon as I started getting a few small sales on eBay. And then 2004, I only had $1,100 in sales. 2005, 3,300. Only a couple thousand, 6 and 7. Looks like in 2008, I had 11,000. I didn't have really much sales up until 2013, 22,000. My big years, 2016, I did I see 369, and then I did 346,000, 137,000 in 2018. The point is, so early on, Paige, I definitely was spending money from other places, basically buying names, because I see up for the first 5 years of sales, I had 10,000. 6 years of sales, I had about $10,000 worth of, income. So the first year, say up until 2007, it was only spending. And I do remember I probably spent the most money on domains, and I'd have to look at it. That's where I was really, I have my total numbers, but I never did early on. I still don't keep track very well of how much I spent on this individual name, because I've never paid for names. I've only spent maximum like $200 to $300. I spent for a personal one. Cali Girl was a company of mine. I spent $1,200, but I always the buy has never been a big expense for me. So I've always felt like, hey, whatever I sell a name for, I'm half-ass profitable because I don't have anything in these, and most of them were hand registrations from the 2007 to the 2013 era. But I did spend a lot on hand registrations because I ended up having 6,500 names around 2014, 2015. Had that for, up until about 4 years ago. I got down to 4,500. Now I'm down to like 1,300. But okay, so I won't go on and on. But total, I've spent um, the say the 1.3 million, and I've sold 2.4 million. I believe it's 2.2, close to 2.5, but that was gross. So if I look at the you know, average, say 15% off the top of that would be my net. But so I've been profitable, say $1 million over the whole time. Well, 20 years, that's 50,000 a year. Like I said, many years I didn't have hardly any profits, any sales. It was a couple big years when the Asian market, and then I've had some okay years since then, but the last 2 or 3 have been pretty grim. So I sold a lot of things wholesale to get that money. I did 400,000 a couple years ago. I would say, I think you mentioned it too, Paige, about posting. I posted some small ones. I didn't post my bigger transactions. I'm not trying to post this stuff. This room's recorded enough. This is silly. I'm almost done talking now, because it doesn't help you. I want to help other domainers, but it's easier in person and in private to say, here's specifically the numbers, because you just don't want to share the numbers publicly. It's just silly to share your fucking wealth publicly. I'll tell that as an investment advisor to anybody. So, but yeah, I've wanted to say, Darcy mentioned on his numbers that I love the idea of, here's what I've spent, and it's easy. Here's what I've spent on domain names, and that includes, of course, all your buys, all your aftermarket buys, all your registrations, and then all your renewals. And that's why a lot of investors invest in these other extensions, and we want to know. So sometimes, my renewals on 1,200 names is about 12 grand, 13 grand. That's today, right? Because I used to have a lot of names, and I'm spending 60 grand and 5 grand a month on renewals. And that was that was a big deal, because I'm like, geez, I really have to sell quite a bit to just pay for that. Sell 80, 90,000 in domain names to break even. And you're thinking, well, yeah, but you had all these names. It should be easier. I guess I didn't have the greatest stuff. But so I like those two numbers the most. How much have you spent total? How much have you sold total? And that's why when I see a lot of people on X, that's all I want to ask them, from Tony names. And so I want to ask you, Josh, what are your numbers, like a high view like that, total spent, just a rough, and then you've sort of mentioned it before, and then total sales, and then of course you still have your what portfolio you have. So it's like you're sitting on all this great stuff after those two numbers. And then after you answer that, how well do you know Tony names? Because I know you like the guy, but he never answers me when I ask how much he spent. Go ahead.
My understanding on him, by the way, is that he spent, and his claim, and I believe him, is honestly remarkable. I think he's says that he only has like maybe a couple of thousand into domains, and now and within like a few years he's rattling off like 800K in sales per year, or more, or something, like that. Like, and listen, his numbers are so good that some of the top people in the domain industry like almost don't believe it. Not that they don't believe him, because I do believe him, and I think that most people that know him do believe him. But my point is that his achievement in a short period of time, based on what he says that he started with and hasn't invested any more money into it than what he started with, is literally insane. Like, best ever type situation. So I don't know, Todd. If you can get him in here to at least talk, he doesn't like to talk too much about like his strategy for buying or some of those things, but he has certainly spoke publicly about having very little invested, and like kind of like building this extremely profitable business. Well, not profitable actually, because it all gets reinvested back in, but it certainly would be very profitable if he was not reinvesting at this moment in time. Um, Me personally, I like so these things that you asked me, I can find them out. I can go back, but it would take me a while. I'd have to go through all of my accounting in previous years and whatnot, because I don't know how much I've spent on domains total. I can tell you that in terms of inventory that I currently have, the cost of that is close to about 1 million. How much I have invested into domains from like that didn't come from domain income, that's so hard for me to track as well. I really have no idea. But it would be a lot more than what Tony says. It would, I mean, I would say it's really hard to say because I've had I would say tens of thousands, not hundreds, but I would say tens of thousands. Um, Total sales that I've had um in the again, I don't have the I can pull them up, but let's probably say uh probably about 4 million, maybe something along those lines, maybe less, maybe like 3.5. um there are some like outliers in there as well, like I sold stimulus.com for 600,000. I've had um some other decent six-figure sales, like actus.com I sold last year for 150,000. So yeah, I mean, to answer your question, I don't really know. I'm just guessing
Yeah.
in terms of the numbers, but I can give you the ballparks.
Yeah. When you mentioned, I mean, and believe it, Paige is smart. That's why Paige left. As soon as I start talking about the big numbers, all the spending and buying, Paige is like, yeah, I'm not giving my numbers in public. Only because of um, sometimes it just doesn't help you. Now, we want to help folks and say, yeah, they know for a fact, spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions, several of us. And, like the AI.now, I mean, the AI, Agenic AI, Aaron, nice enough to say, and we see it publicly, okay, 120 on the spend. And the people don't really talk about the spending as much. Most of mine is renewals. That's most of my money I've spent on domains over the years was renewal fees, not the acquisition, which some people spend a lot on the acquisition. And when you spend 120,000 on a name, there's you're not going to hold it for fucking 1,200 years. I mean, bottom line is if you hold it 10 years, your acquisition dwarfs your renewal fees. In my case, sometimes my renewal fees were $200. I only bought the name for 10. I mean, so really everybody's package or everybody's investment um, in domains is different. Anyway, thanks, Josh. About Arif came on stage. Arif, can you give us a ballpark on your numbers? Because you're a successful domainer, you make more than you spend each year. Overall, how's it sort of look for you?
Well, that's a good question, actually. You just answered the question I was going to ask you when I came up. I was going to ask you that your costs, you included your renewals in there, because that's a big chunk over 20 years. If you had like 5,000 domains on average. But yeah, my overall, like I wasn't too good at tracking my stuff in the first couple of years, so I don't want to say the exact amounts. But I'm mostly closeouts, right? So my acquisition costs are very low. Again, it's like the 1% sell-through rate. Like most people, we've had these spaces and Zooms and whatever before. People know for the longest time I had about 3,000 domains. Now I have about 4,500, I guess at this point. I've been on a buying binge the last few weeks, so about like 300 in the last month or so. But yeah, and I go in spurts like that. But yeah, I mean, you can do the math. Mostly closeouts, maybe average $10, whatever it is, plus the renewal, right? And at this point, I'm pretty much doubling my money every year. So it's not like, these big Sherpa sales and whatever it is, but it's, slow and steady, and it's not my full-time thing. So, it's a really fun sort of side thing. I don't want to say two exact numbers, as you said. I haven't thought about disclosing that part of it, but you guys can do the math, right? Most people here know what I've had about 3,000 domains up until a couple of years ago. Now 4,500, and costs are super low, and it's good for me. But again, I have one very specific segment of the market. Like that's why I like listening to guys like you and Josh, because you guys have like different subsections within your portfolio, right? You can't talk about your portfolio as like one sort of type of domain. I've never sold a 6-figure domain before. You know what I mean? And I don't need to. That's the thing. It's like it's for me. My math works really well the way it does. So yeah. I don't know if that kind of answers the question a bit, but real cryptic. Sorry about that.
No, not cryptic at all.
No.
I mean, when we
Todd asks difficult questions, dude. It's not your fault.
and we need to do this in person down at NamesCon, because it is, the more I think, just shut the F up, I want to say to myself. But you want to share these, it's the important stuff to share with other domain investors, especially colleagues that you consider friends, that you're like, hey, because enough with all the bullshit. I mean, you really want to know, how's it going for you with this thing? Because most people aren't profitable. We're in here, everybody's, listening. My biggest sale for a single name was 55 grand. And that was, I know it because it's RM. It was a 4-letter, had MD on it. I mean, I should know it as my biggest sale. When someone doesn't know their biggest sale, I always think you're a faker. I'll think about it. It was,
Or you're just so loaded.
yeah, RM. It was RMMD or something like that I had, and I couldn't, I was like thrilled because I have so many of these 4-letter. I'm thinking, man, I'll sell any of them for less than 20, especially my good ones. I have most of them priced now 20. The most expensive one I have priced now probably like LFOD, and people think why? Because it's live free or die, and I'm thinking somebody should really buy that for like 75 grand, and you just stay patient in this space. You never, it can happen, but right when
But
it
yeah, it's
comes
just funny,
to,
like, when you talk about.
yeah,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no,
How
I'm
you think?
saying,
I was gonna say, like, remembering what domains you sell. Like, right, you guys know lately I've been going some crazy family stuff. Like, I talk to my mom pretty regularly, and it's like sometimes I go into what's going on, my personal stuff, and then after a while she goes, okay, she can tell like I'm getting tired of talking about it, so she'll go, so how the domains going? I go, oh, okay, good. Like I sold one last week, type of thing, and it's like,
Oh,
oh,
and then she regrets it for the rest of her day, huh? She's just like,
no,
oh
not even.
god, here we go.
But no, but then she goes like, well, what name? I'm like, I don't even remember. Like I gotta go my email and search for congratulations from Afternic, you know what I mean? That type of thing. Like, oh, okay, yeah, that one. But it's funny because like, yeah, once the domain is sold, like it's sold. On to the next one. Wait for the next email to come in. It's I guess it's a good problem to have, but I can't complain too
Jeez,
much.
man. You guys, man. Todd and RF, you guys are just freaking bowling. You don't even remember your sales. What's going on with you guys? Tell you
It's
every
not.
sale I've had this year.
I'm
I've
looking for that one.
I made 3 sales in May, right? So this is my first month, 5-figure month. It's been a little slower than the last few years, the first little bit, but I'm not concerned worthy. Like that's the thing with 4,500 domains, or especially 3,000 for the longest time. Like it's really strange. Like month to month, zero consistency, but over the span of a year, the last few years have been scary how consistent they've been. It's like I'll have a couple of slow months, and then boom, next month I'll have like 5 sales. And that's all I need really. But sometimes like, ooh, what's going on? And but sure enough, next month, boom, get the
Yeah,
things
well, do
moving.
you know why you're consistent? Is because you're consistent in your buying habits too. My sales
Yeah,
are not consistent at all because my buying habits are inconsistent, meaning like I've dabbled in all areas of the market and continue to dabble in all areas of the market, and I've got high-end names, medium, low. So like when the high-end names hit and the medium hit, and sometimes they all hit at once, and I'll have a 6-figure month, and then the next time none of them, those medium and high-end ones will hit, and just the small ones hit, and it's just a 10-15 grand month. So I guess your input determines your output.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like for you, you almost have to look at it like you have like 4 different portfolios for different tiers or however many number it is, right? Could be but I mean, like if you're buying and selling stuff that sells for 6 figures, the math just you can't include that with the rest of your bread and butter stuff like I have, right? So it's just. But I mean, you're smart enough to do that, right? Like I mean, for me, I do the database and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the spreadsheet, but I mean, at the end of the day, you have your gut check, right? I mean, that's the most important thing. I know, you tell people like look at the stats, the data and all that stuff, but
The best players in each segment typically specialize in that segment, just for what it's worth. So like low end, I would say the best is huge domains, and they don't really ever go into like premium stuff. My one of the best at the high end is my friend and business partner in various capacities. I would say Josh, and he basically only deals at the high end, and there are numerous others as well, like Brent and some of the other more popular ones. But yeah, I feel like doing all of them is not necessarily ideal, but because specialization is, regardless of what industry you're in, specialization is important, because when you specialize in something, you become an expert in that area. It's very difficult to be the best in all areas.
Hey,
So
thanks for UFO joining us on stage. Before you would comment or question, are you going to be at NamesCon? Am I going to see you there again?
I'll be there. Yep.
Fantastic.
It'll be my second one. So
UFO is tasked with finding us a spot for a DNX happy hour.
I know I just went out there kind of being cheeky, and then I was like, "Oh shit, what if you actually asked where?" And then I don't have anything to say. So that was a pretty good response. Yeah.
There you go. Now you got to do the work, man.
Yeah, I'm debating if I should stay at the hotel because it's like a mile away from the venue, or just stay kind of more. I don't know. So we'll see. I haven't decided where I'm going to stay yet, but because I know historically it's been connected to the venue, so it kind of makes it easier. But now that it's not connected, it's maybe it's a little bit different in terms of
You got
where
time
people
to
are going to
ask
stay.
around and find a good spot, and then Josh will trumpet and say no. I want to do it somewhere else, but still, come up with a
I'm
cool
waiting
spot.
for
You got
Josh to
plenty of
say he's
time.
renting out a villa for the week, and hey, it's like and just come on, let's go. So
let's go. Let's get a boat.
yeah, we'll split it between 6 people, and it'll be
Not a bad
No, but I have
idea
a
to get
question.
something
I
like that.
kind of been in and out of the space because I've been having work calls, but I think that this is maybe just a question for Josh and just anybody else that I'm starting now to realize that opportunity cost and like for example, in the last few weeks, I've accepted offers on names that let's say a price from 3 to 5K, I'll take $2,000 or 1,500, and they're less than a year old hold times. And I think I was talking to some other domainers, larger domainers, and I think a part of it is that when you're in the earlier stages, which I'm considering myself in that a couple years in, that I think that as you get better or try to find different ways to find names, whether it's back ordering or drop catching and stuff like that, that there's just so much more opportunity out there. But it's also kind of like a little bit more daunting because you really realize like, wow, like there's a whole another level to this than just kind of, what most people I think would start out with just, expired domains is great. I use it every day, but I'm starting to realize now there's so many other ways to find names and figuring out what kind of back order to put in, and is it a discount one or is it a full one? So I'm kind of going down that rabbit hole. But Josh, when you first started, what was the kind of I guess fine line between what should I accept this offer because there's just so much other names out there that I could find better value, or do you just kind of have a bucket that hey, they're priced here and I'm just going to be patient and wait for years to sell it? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, for sure, man. So you are a way faster. You're on a way faster learning curve than I was when I got started in the space. I I I I didn't quite, honestly, the first few years I really didn't figure out the retail side of it at all. I was pretty good at flipping names to uh, other investors, and I was pretty good at finding names that were out of my budget and like brokering them to guys like Andy and Drew and those kind of guys. Which was great because it helped me learn a lot. Got me, connected with people that knew a lot more than I did about the industry. So, but I would churn names whenever I could. So, like, yeah, absolutely. If I had names priced at 3 or 4K, and a name that I purchased for a few dollars or $20 or $100 or whatever, and I got a $1,500 offer. Yeah, I definitely wanted to close those deals. Absolutely wanted to close those deals because at the end of the day, I was just trying to generate cash flow. Absolutely trying to generate cash flow. Um, I worked in the same industry as you. I was in equipment financing, and that was most of that money that I was earning from my job was going to, living my life, my lifestyle, paying my bills, providing for my family. Um, and yeah, I was trying to not put too much money into a space that I wasn't totally 100% sure about. There wasn't as much information out there as there was today, or it certainly didn't seem that way back then. I just possibly I just wasn't as connected as I am now. I'm sure that's partially the case. But yeah, long story short, I mean, you probably heard the last domain Sherpa that I did with Braden, Drew, and JT. When you're picking up these names that you can easily replace, like you're talking about, these names that you can get for discount back orders or full back orders or in closeouts, and you know that you can go in daily and replace these names. If you're getting an offer for 100x on these names and you're trying to grow your portfolio, it's really hard to think of a good reason why you shouldn't be taking that money and churning it.
Exactly. Yeah, and actually, that's the kind of spurred me because I was listening to the last trip and I was like, I get offers, for 750, 1,000, 1,500, and but now I'm like, you know what? Now that I've gone into the whole, I don't get too much in a tangent, but I was talking to other people, that as well, and with the whole backwarding world and trying to figure it out, and it's complex and it's very nuanced, and there's a lot of players in there, but there's just so much value. I mean, even in the GoDaddy closeouts for $1, I mean, like you're paying $1 and the renewal is 10 and it comes off your revenue because it's renewal, so I mean, like, there's just so much value that it's just, I mean, it almost comes down to how much time do you have in, what is your
Absolutely.
creativity. Basically, I was talking to Tony Names about this, and it's like you can get, I mean, there's not enough time in the data. There's so many names every day that you can just buy for 10, $20 and flip them for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5K within the next couple of years if you have a system. But it's also, everyone's like, well, how do you do it? But it's like, even if I told you what I was doing, it's that effort and the filters. Like, I remember you saying this a long time ago, your expired domains filters, how much is that worth? I'm thinking, how much are yours are probably much better than mine, but I mean, that's your bread and butter. And, just, I mean, if you don't have that in place, even with that in place, it takes enough time as it is. But I mean, I don't know how you can do it. I mean, if you don't have that stuff, kind of, I mean, I hate when I wake up and I'm like, oh shit, my computer did a restart and all my tabs are all fucked up, and sometimes they're saved and not saved. And so, but
Hey,
yeah, I
Yeah.
just wanted your opinion about that, and you answered it correctly. I think just there's times when take the money and you can, if you can put it to better use. I think on the higher end names it's more difficult. I don't have those yet, so it's a different discussion where it's like, man, to replace it, I don't know if I really can replace it for that easily. So maybe it's a different, the match a little bit different there. But I think for most
Yeah, man.
people,
I mean, you got to beware of anyone that speaks in absolutes, and I think that a lot of us in the industry are guilty of speaking in absolutes a lot of the time. Oh, .com or nothing, or you need to, get 10x on your investment, or you need to, well, I can think of several different things that are people speaking in absolutes, but there are multiple different business models, and quite frankly, like the way that you should be thinking about your investments when you're buying at that closeout level and back ordering for $10 or buying for $1 is completely different than what you should be thinking when you're going out and you're buying premium domains, like you're searching on, like, let's say searching on DNX and purchasing a name for 5k or 50k or 100k. It's completely different thought process, completely different business model. And you need to consider them differently and what your goals are, how much time you have. Time is a big thing too, right? 100% it's a big thing. And if you're actively pouring money back into your business daily, and you have no trouble finding that inventory, then if you're not taking a $10 to $1,500 flip, let's call it, then it makes 0 cents. 0 cents.
Hey,
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly what I was kind of getting at too. Is that I have the tools and the scripts and everything set up, and I mean, literally, I was talking to, I think Art. Me and Art talk quite a bit, Malkov, and he was like, "How many names did you buy this month?" And I was like, "I put every dollar back into it because I have my regular job. And God bless that, I'm able to be successful at that. But all my domaining, I put everything back into it. So I mean, I literally spent $1,000 a day this month. But it's all from sales from this month. I'm like at 20,000 this month, and just dump 1,000 every day back into it, and then I'll wait a week or so and then let my brain kind of refresh because it's a grind every day. But there's just so much value out there. And, I think it's just better to do it in phases and chunks because, yeah, we all say every day try to be consistent, but it's hard to just only look for 30 minutes or an hour when you have all these other things where you're like, if I'm going to do that, that's half-assed. So I'd rather just be able to sit down and, do it late in the morning or early at night and then, kind of go from there. But everyone's different, and depending on family, I don't have a family, so I can put more time into this. So, but yeah, I always like listening to you on the Sherpas and your opinion and feedback because a lot of times, it's, oh my God, I got all these names where, yeah, they're great, but if you don't sell one or two to pay for the lot, if you're buying a bunch of them, we'll play a little game here. I bought GoDaddy. It was an auction the other day. NextGenRobot.com.
Next
Okay,
gen what? Robot.
robot.
Next
Right.
gen robot.
Okay, so I love next gen or next gen. I think they're both equally as I mean they're both equally as using company names, right? So usually I don't like to spend that much on these names, but what do you think at GoDaddy expired that I was able to pick that name up for?
Nextgenrobot.com.
Yeah,
What? $1.
hold on,
I
hold on,
wish.
hold on. I want to
Not
say, hold on, UFO. Press Zeno, get ready because I'm gonna come to you in a second. But I'll say you spent um,
actually, I apologize.
150.
Sorry, it's next gen bot. Sorry, no
Next
robot.
gen
Next
bot.
gen
Okay,
bot
so yeah, you got
dot
that
com.
for pretty good. You got that for less than 150. So I'll say you did spend $90.
Okay, so I had my proxy at 100, and I think it was probably a huge domain. Someone came in, and I ended up paying 318 for that. Now, someone might say 318, that's a lot of money, but I just sold the name the other day for 1750 that I got for $1 3 days earlier, and I was able to say, hey, at $300, that name is good value in my opinion at $300, right? Next Gen's popular. I also own nextgencrypto.com and nextgencrypto.com and other combinations of that. So it's a little bit of a hedge
Next
against
gen
that.
is a great. Next gen is a great set of keywords.
Yeah, so
Like,
next
yeah.
gen bot. But the point is that I was starting to use my proceeds to scale up into some better names. I did not want to spend $300 on that name, no. But at that price point, I think that that's good value.
Hundred
But it was
percent. I
competitive.
do that. I do that all the time as well, dude. Like, so, and I'll give you an example of it as well. I sold the other day the oh god, like something shitty. TheQuantumAgency.com. TheQuantumAgency.com. Sold it for
$3K,
$3,500.
3K. Okay, I say about
Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
$3,500. And the same day, I went and bought QuantumAgent.com for around the same price.
There you go.
And like the reason why I didn't buy Quantum Agent and why most people wouldn't have bought Quantum Agent for that price is because it's kind of high, right? But when you're able to say, I just sold a far inferior name for the same amount, and I'm able to take that money and put it into what is 100% a way better name with a lot higher upside. Those are the kind of moves that give you a very strong portfolio in the future. If you're continually making those moves, constantly making those moves, you're going to have a banging portfolio.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was kind of thinking about. Is that don't do it now. Don't go. I don't spend every purchase $300, but there's once in a while where I'm like, you know what? For this name, it'll upgrade my portfolio. And the name I sold was workersnearby.com for 1750. I had it for 3 days, right? And so, yeah, when the nearby and near me's, I have a couple of them. I have 4 or 5, but I just get rid of them, and that was a good flip, and I got that name instead, and I bought another 100 names for $11 for $1 a piece, right? I mean, so that's kind of where I'm at. But anyway, I don't take any more of you guys' time. I'll keep listening, but
No
this is
sweat.
a
I
good
want to.
discussion, and thanks for your advice.
Hey, I appreciate Zeno being patient. I'm going to get to him right now. But UFO, you mentioned before too about you can tell someone all the tricks, but they got to have the passion like you. So everybody knows too how to go to the gym and how to lose weight, how to build but you got to have the passion to do it, and you got to be consistent doing it. So it really is, you can share all sorts of things, and people do it all the time in these self-help books too. Of here's how you do it. You want to know specific path, but the person has to. I mean, we're all individuals. People can't mimic each other, and sometimes the thing you at least you do UFO is try to say here's specifically some of the things I do. Some of the things, if you do mimic this, you do these supersets and you don't eat any ice cream, you might see some results. But right, everybody's different. Hey, Presino, tell us a little bit about your domain investing experience and any comment or question you have. Yeah, you were off mute. We couldn't hear you. What's up?
Sorry, were you talking to me?
Is this Presino? Trying to. I'm looking at my Zeno. I mean, I know I'm pronouncing it right because I never make a mistake. I was waiting for Daniel. I see Daniel's there, but first, Daniel, before I welcome you, Zeno. I know you're maybe overseas. Can we go ahead? Try it now. Yeah, for some reason your microphone's not working. All right. For those listening, we go for another 20 minutes today. We go to the top of the hour. We'll see if Zeno. I think he's over another continent. Maybe he's having some problems. Daniel, it's nice to see you. I know you're in town. He's in LA. That's the real city. From Boston, what's happening? Everything going good with the trip so far?
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, it's a good time. I missed the West Coast weather and I missed Mexican food.
Huh?
Um, yeah, that's the most important thing. I missed the Mexican food, but
Beautiful. So we're catching
um,
up
uh,
tomorrow. I just picked the right place for us to
you
meet.
did.
Well, Daniel, tell
You did. I was
everybody.
thrilled about that.
I mean, some of these people here, a lot of us know you, but okay. So Daniel is a I don't know. He works for Hilco. I'd say he's the senior sales representative, but he works closely with, of course, Andrew Miller, well known at Hilco, doing big deals. But tell us what's been happening lately, what you've been working on, and some public stuff that can be shared.
Yeah. What I can tell you guys is the predictions that, both Andrew Miller and Rosner have been firing off the last 6 months, in terms of action picking up. It's insane. It's in fact they were spot on, and it's a lot more people are more confident with their decision to proceed with purchasing premium domains right now. More people want to have the conversation. There is less concerns about economic uncertainty. It feels more like people feel like they know what they're in for the next few years in terms of politics and global finance and such. Um, so people their names are moving. Good names, good desirable names are moving, and I think on the high end nowadays it's a little less reflective of cost. If a name is truly desirable and game changing, they're moving. We, I would say that there's a lot more interest this year, a lot more than I've ever seen in previous years, in names that you would look at and think this is priced a little high. It feels like a little more than what you would expect such a name to go for. But I think more of the world is starting to really, figure out the significance of, the trustworthy, incredible, and memorable domain name. And so, the best brands, the catchiest, shortest, the coolest names, they're commanding a premium over what you think it's worth. There's people out there willing to pay a little more nowadays. So it's a fun time right now. It's a really fun time. It's a good time to have strong names. Yeah, so we're seeing better action than ever before, and I thought last year was exciting.
Well, tell us about. I mean, over at Adam, you always helped with the super premium marketplace. Have a lot of more names have been added there in the last year? And is there a lot more leads coming in because of that marketing at Adam? And tell us a little bit about that partnership, Hilco and Adam, how successful, fruitful it's been.
Yeah. So this, I would say that the stream of new inventory is pretty steady nowadays. I think in the very beginning there was the early adopters that wanted to be a part of it and wanted to support, and then I think once the first few sales came in, a lot of people jumped on. And were submitting names, and I think now it's recently become more and more steady. I think the people that wanted to move over or give it a shot, for the most part, have. Um, and the majority of our inventory is nowadays it's existing sellers adding in their newer, the more recent acquisitions. So it's steady, it's great. I would say in terms of the action on the end user side, um, we're getting we're getting a lot more inquiries across the board that are certainly people with serious interest. That's not to say that they can afford the domain always, but shoot or shoot. People are going to try and submit an offer and see what happens. I don't blame them for it. They should. We want the conversations anyways. Um, I would say that really the best, most desirable brands in the world are seeing a lot more additional interest than they already have in terms of percentage, like the percentage increase of serious inquiries at a certain price range, I think increased more with the most desirable names compared to, the tide across the board. Um, so everything that is considered premium and high end is certainly getting more and more interest. But I think the best names are seeing even at a higher rate of attention.
Tell people what those names are. What an example of what the best names are.
Some names on the UPM that are just getting a ridiculous stream of inquiries are going to be names like jam.com, JAM, oasis.com gets tons of attention. Both Odyssey and Fuse, before Braden sold those were getting tons of inbound. Um,
So like the
ladder.com.
common the common theme here is that, and we talked about this a little bit before you jumped on, Daniel, is that these are not keyword specific names. They're
The
open
brands.
vessel raw brands. Yeah.
100%. It's the stuff that is versatile and desirable for many applications. The more applications that can find this name extremely desirable, the more attention it's going to get. That's what's happening right now. I will also say that even keywords, we don't have, Adam is more of a brand marketplace. We don't have as many category killers there, but the category names, the real, top of the top category name is getting more attention, and more and more people are willing to spend that real premium amount for that name, just for the competitive advantage. That's not to say that that is getting less attention. That's just what's getting attention on Atom, by people that are open-minded to something cool.
When I saw Odyssey, I was thinking, I'm expecting some big news, hopefully some luck for pyramid.com. I think that's a great name. I know you guys worked that name.
Yep.
I love it. And I was thinking Odyssey, that one's a tough one to spell. And that thing, got picked up at a super nice price. But anyway, so you're over with Braden right now. Um,
I am. I
yeah.
am.
So yeah. By the way, yeah, I mentioned where we're going tomorrow to him. But anyway, was he just having the best year of his life? Right. I mean, everything's going.
Oh
He's
yeah.
told us.
Oh yeah.
Is he in a
Yeah. And
better mood? Do you
he
notice
just.
he's got a little,
I mean,
kick in his step?
he's always in a great mood. I mean, he gets to do whatever he wants. He spends some time doing domains. He's at the gym. He's with friends all the time. It's what life should be.
Yeah.
Um,
This
yeah,
is
but I mean, he's talked about it on Sherpa. He's having his best year yet. Which is why I'm okay with saying that, because he's already talked about
yeah.
it. Um, and it's just being ready to strike. That's a lot of like what our work at Hilco is. It's just being in position to jump on a kill. um that's what outbounding is all about. It's planting the seeds. And then, all of a sudden there's an increased demand for the best names. And, by having them and making them discoverable, he's in a position to kill.
Well, I mean, it's unbelievable. Sort of obviously, helped train you from the start, and then you've got
Oh, for sure.
great training from so many other pros in this space. And I was telling people before you showed up today, unusual, how um, I think you're just almost a born salesman. When I first talked with you several years ago, just being so young, and I thought, gee, just really on top of it, and now so polished and so well. Except Braden, he's put all this together, and now you're helping sell his names. Of course, you always did, but now you have the support, the firm behind you, really to handle any transaction. And no one that does business with Hilco should have any concern about the professionalness of, but also the smoothness of a transaction, basically the trust that's there. Well, a little bit about, I know I can't
Daniel,
wait to.
Daniel, are you parlaying those commissions into ownership?
So I will, and actually, I'm happy to talk about that. Um, this is tough because this comes back to the thing that you were talking about earlier, where it doesn't quite make sense, to dabble in a bunch of different niches, but rather, to be an expert in one. And that's the tough part when you're just starting out because, I consider that I know, the ultra, the high end like the back of my hand, except it requires a lot of money to play in that sector. So I think about, I spend time, you know looking at the daily sales, reading all of the X conversation and such, and like I more or less can spot good inventory names, but it's not as confident as I am in the high end. And I want I want to be 100% confident in every dollar deployed. And that's going to be in the high end for me. So I don't want to feel like, oh, you know what, like this should go well on an $1,500 inventory name. I would rather all of that money be in something that I'm 100% confident this is a phenomenal deal. I can flip it to an investor. I have a ton of kicks at the can for outbound. It's absolutely a 6-figure, 7-figure name, whatever. So I'm holding out till I can do that.
So what's
I
your
have to.
what's your strategy for being able to play in the market that everyone wants to play in, and picking up names that the guys that we all know and love are throwing millions of dollars at without and essentially kicking up the prices.
I think it's going to be two things. I think that there are keywords that are slipping past everyone's radar in the auctions almost daily. I don't see the full list of however many names there are dropping every day, but I'm subscribed to the daily newsletter. Shane, Dennis, Domain Smoke, um, Mike Seiger's newsletter. Um, so I definitely catch a good amount, and there's a lot of stuff that's just slipping under the cracks that is phenomenal. I just pushed, or I gave Braden a heads up on one last week. Falsies.com was an auction. Falsies had almost no bidders on it, and it was expired. It was a drop catch name, and for nobody knows what it means. That's the term for fake eyelashes, and it is the term
In
in
the
the
old
beauty
days, it
space
was
for
the
fake
term for
eyelashes.
fake boobs too. But go ahead.
Well, exactly. Todd, I will make sure to let you know when boltons.com makes it into the expiry. Yeah. So
I wouldn't consider that. I wouldn't consider that super
no,
premium
no,
though.
no,
That
no.
means
Definitely,
that's
definitely
like
not super.
middle of the market.
No, definitely not super, but like there's really good stuff out there that's dropping daily, and if you know what you're looking for. But in terms of the ultra high end, I think the game is hunting. I think you gotta figure out how to track down the owners of the domains that don't have landing pages, or they're redirecting somewhere and they're not actually being used for their brand potential, and find the person in charge and get them to agree to selling. Like I do think hunting is where the good deals are coming from nowadays.
Well,
Anything making.
do you know where you have you obviously have an advantage in that area because you're developing relationships with big corporate buyers that have lots
Exactly.
of domains that they don't use.
Exactly.
So what's the agreement that you have with Hilco where you can just say, oh, and by the way, what are you doing with this domain?
Well, I mean, we can just ask anyways, and then depending on what their situation is with the domain, I mean, it depends on what they're looking to accomplish with it. If it's something that we would want to take under advisory, we'll take it on the Hilco side. We've gotten names like that. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I know that Braden and Andrew, when it makes sense, they buy the names themselves.
right.
Are you able to get in on that action?
Yes, I am.
That's
I
cool.
am. Yeah,
That's cool.
I definitely am, which is very much appreciated. Um, but I think I don't necessarily want full ownership, but I don't want to put like a large chunk of my money into a tiny sliver of a name. I do like, I would want to at least own something halfway. Um, and if it's so much of my personal money to go into a name, I want to be absolutely obsessed with the name. So, someday when the perfect deal is there, where I think, we're getting it below fair wholesale value, um, and there's a ton of room on it, and decent odds of it selling sooner, based on how many prospects we get outbound to that are qualified, I'll jump on it. For now, it's just been Bitcoin, and I'm just letting that do its thing until we transition over. But that's been helping a ton. Um, but I think in terms of getting the good deals on the high end, like it comes down to hunting. I think that's where the deals are. I think anything that makes it out to the open, to the domain community. I think they're running up the auctions, past fair wholesale all the time.
Oh yeah, even in the names that don't make it out into the public, but just circulate in private, those get run up indirectly.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
But
Yeah, I
when you
hear.
talk
Go
about
ahead.
the public ones get run up to what, pretty close to retail some of the time.
They do. It's insane. It's insane. I look at some of these auctions, and the price that they're at with 24 hours left to go. I'm just like, it doesn't even make sense to leave a proxy. But yeah, even in private, I hear of names all the time that Braden gets annoyed because his very reasonable and strong offer was being considered, and then here comes someone else 30K above him, and he's just like, what the hell? Now they're overpaying, and I don't get it.
Oh man, I'm glad he feels that way sometimes
Yeah.
because us mere mortals feel that way all the time.
Daniel,
Yeah.
I would say, I think, I know you're doing the right thing. One, there's too many names out there for even Braden and Drew and, to keep picking up. They've done quite a bit this last couple years, but there's, sellers, there's people that have inventory, these great words that you're talking about, who they do. There's just some people that finally need the money. And now they're really going to those same people that we know, the same groups that, normally buy these names, and you just can't buy everything, so you're looking for something. I mean, I think you're being patient, definitely not wanting to be part of an ownership group that's more than two people. That's already smart in itself. We're only going to go for like 2 more minutes here because every day at noon I do something that's really important. I mean, every Thursday. But Daniel, thanks for being here. Well, about
Yeah.
what's tell us one name that you're really working on, now, that's sort of like one of your focuses there, selling for Hilco.
Let me. One of the. I mean, the team. I mean, we really do balance through everything evenly. Everything gets proportionally. Whatever work is out there to be done on the name, it gets done. It's not like, oh, because the name is worth more, we're gonna work it more. It's, if there's work to be done on the name, we're gonna do it. Um, Something extremely exciting that is in the very beginning is detection.com. That's a name that I am extremely excited about. The seller gave it to us with a specific asking price. If you guys know who it is, great. I'm not going to be the one to say. Um, he had a price he wanted, and I told him, I was like, you're underpriced. I said you need to jack up your asking price by at least 2.5x. I mean, it's and I explained my thoughts on the keyword, and the utilities and how much venture and general investor money is flying into the space. He agreed, and now for me, it's not even wanting to sell this name, for a retail outcome, but I really want to find a buyer that's above his asking price, just just to make the point, and just to for all the reasons. So detection.com, extremely excited. There's tons to do on that name. That's a brand new project. So we hope that that moves sooner than later. Everything we get to work on is honestly exciting, but that's the brand new one that like really got my
Well,
that really got me thinking.
thanks for that because I was looking at some .ai names that end in like that action or tion, and sometimes I always wonder about some of these names with certain prefixes because obviously detect and I found some great ones that are like I said
And it's
available
so
on .ai.
versatile.
Yeah.
The term and the use of it is just so versatile. There's so many things out there worth detecting. Hackers, health, um, whatever you want an alert for, or just need to find new information. It's just such a good keyword. Detect.com is already in use, so the root is gone. Um, so it's an exciting one.
Yeah. Josh, any final words?
No final words. I appreciate everyone coming, and thanks for asking so many great questions, Todd.
Hey, thanks everybody to be here. I see we have some requests to speak. Please come next week. We're here every Thursday. And Daniel, thanks for showing up. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Uh,
Yeah, of course, it's
we're
going to be a
going
good time.
to, we do this every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We go for 2 hours. So thanks for joining us. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Take it easy.
Take care, guys.
Hope
Thanks.
hope